Whatever happened to the boy?
Hung Wei, the boy who played the little boy from the monastery.
Whatever happened to him?
He's a director now. He's an important director in Hong Kong.
其實就係咁噶，因為我哋最初我嗰陣時做緊 stunt 嘅啦，有一個叫關正良師傅，佢哋話俾我聽，佢哋沙龍公司佢哋需要一個後生仔做一個咁樣嘅演員，咁就揾咗我去咯。咁我本身係 stunt 嚟，咁好細個咁做 stunt 咁樣去咯，咁試咗，咁俾個導演睇，咁導演 OK 咁做。
We were all packing it in and going home, and Bruce, by that time, was so wound up he didn't want to quit. And he invented that little scene at the monastery.
But I think after he saw some of the rushes of the film, he got real excited and went back and shot that.
Yeah. For that one, he called Sammo Hung. Sammo was one of his old good friends.
And then after he shoot again of that, halfway they stop. They shoot and then the dragon. They find me, then they call me. I want you to be in my movie, fight with me. Then we rehearsal, we don't do anything, we just talking. Give me punch, I punch you, yeah, I block you, okay, yeah, ready to take action. We just one take, okay. It's very fast. We shoot only 1.5 days. One day, whole day, the other day is before lunch. You know, they finish, then we're very funny, very happy. I'm very hurry. Okay, go. Take my passport, you know.
Well, we saved the Dragon Lady for last, Anna Capri. And we're very fortunate because Anna took some home movies while she was making the film.
Back in those days, I loved going on location, and I had told my agent that at that particular time I wanted to go anywhere on location because my mom had just passed away, and I would welcome the opportunity to work out of town. And my agent called me up and he said, you said you wanted to go on location. He said, is Hong Kong far enough? And I just laughed. I said, what are you talking about? And he said, there's a film called Enter the Dragon, and it's starring a martial artist called Bruce Lee. He says, have you ever heard of him? And I said, I have never heard of Bruce Lee, nor martial arts. He said to me, would you like to go to Hong Kong? And I said, absolutely. So I said, well, good. When should I go? And he said, tonight. I said, no way. And I said, well, what's the part? He says, I don't have a frigging idea. But he says, you know, they'll send you the script, packer, and the luggage. Just get on that plane. I somehow miraculously was on that plane going to Hong Kong that night at midnight. China Airlines. My dad had given me a little Super 8 camera for my birthday, which was like a couple months before I went, and I just threw it in the bag just to pass the time, just walking around and, you know, taking some shots of Bruce and John and Jim Kelly and Bob Wall. Of course, I'm sorry that I didn't have more. We just spliced 5 3-minute increments together so it would be easier to view, to show my friends. And like I said, it was just for fun. And it wasn't really from the beginning, middle, and end. It was mostly just, you know, where they were filming the tournament scenes. And when they first arrived, that was just down the steps from where we shot the tournament scenes. As a matter of fact, it's very interesting because I had been invited to a formal lunch at this rich palatial estate. It was on a Sunday afternoon, and I went, and the lunch was basically held on a boat which was down the steps from this palace. I noticed that these yellow flags were flapping in the wind. I asked our host, I said, what are all those yellow flags doing there? And he said to me, tomorrow, some movie company is going to start shooting here for the next 2 to 3 weeks, and it's a film starring Bruce Lee. And I said, I can't believe that. I said, I'm the leading lady in that role, in that movie. And he said, you're kidding. I said, no. I said, and we're going to start shooting here tomorrow. But it was mysteriously wonderful and beautiful at the same time. I was fascinated with it. I loved Hong Kong.
Well, the interesting thing is when we started the film, Bruce was so nervous he didn't want to start.
We started shooting the picture, and Bruce did not show up. And what we had heard is that he was nervous, and he was nervous. Meanwhile, we started shooting the movie because I wanted to get going, and we had Warner's money, and the guy from Warner Brothers kept coming. I said, oh, I'm telling you, it's really turning out great. I didn't have a bit of footage on on Bruce.
Fred, too, was going around the hills of Hong Kong shooting scenics and car rides and everything to get before we could get Bruce into the studio. And the first scene that he did in the studio, he was so nervous and so physically shaking. We shot the scene where he's sitting down in a chair and just sort of turned his head. It's the only action we gave him.
And then finally he got it, and I said, Bob, you got to keep going now. And then from then on, Bruce, not only was with it, like everything Bruce did, he became terrific in what he did. Great film coordinator, stunt coordinator.
And ultimately what we did in the screenplay was, when we came upon an action sequence which was going to be a Bruce Lee kind of showpiece, we would just write in the script choreography to be designed by the director and the star.
A lot of Bruce's talent was with working with other actors and choreographing a scene and leading the whole operation, both in what he did and in what happened with other people in the fight.
And a lot of it, again, with the director. The director had, Bob Klaus, had a wonderful sense of action. He really had a wonderful visual eye to what would make a good action scene.
When I saw the fight downstairs, when he goes into the caves, I thought when we saw that, the kind of things that Bruce was doing was unusual and different. And he also had great charisma. And you know, you watch the other stunt guys watch Bruce, you begin to understand what happened. I mean, you know, remember Jackie Chan was a stuntman on Enter the Dragon. Everybody began to understand that this was something unusual. And we were starting to get the feel, and being in Hong Kong and seeing the way the people, you know, consider him a hero, you were caught up in it.
And when Bruce liked something, when Bruce saw something, he was very inventive. You know, we'd walk through the sets, and we built these kind of marvelous sets. And as we'd find something, as he'd see something, he was very, very actually genius at finding a way to incorporate everything within it into his fight sequences.
See, what was the great thing is it was also a work in progress. As we saw things, we added that to give color to Michael Allen's script.
I sort of ran across the phenomena in a little hotel in Hong Kong on Repulse Bay. On the way to the men's room having lunch there was this sort of multiple paneled mirror, and I just looked in it and I thought, wow, this is amazing. And I took Bruce and showed it to him, and he thought it was too fragmented, that you couldn't get any action that would mean anything out of it. And Bob Klaus and I really fought hard for it, and we created this mirrored room.
Well, the mirrored room was a great idea. It was very visual.
We built it, and then we walked some people through it and showed Bruce how it looked. And then he got absolutely...
So we wanted to see ourselves, we just built like a closet in the middle of the room that was movable with mirrors on the outside.
It just blended into the other mirrors.
I remember that I would always have to touch, because if I'm looking at something, they might not be there. They might be over there.
Each angle was so carefully laid out in terms of where people appeared and mirror images appeared.
I mean, we'd be doing a shot of Chicane, and all of a sudden Bruce would appear in the back. And of course, that image was maybe 6 reflections.
There was no place you could go that any reflection might not be seen.
So I found that I could only be in there for a couple hours, and I'd have to go out and sit down and look at a wall in real dimension, because it's like there was a 4th dimension in there.
Which was unbelievable to work in.
All of a sudden, I get a call from Fred Whitelaw, one of the producers. He says, Bruce Lee is in town. He wants to have lunch with you. I wanted to meet him, but I didn't know what to talk to him.
Well, Lalo had done that marvelous score for Mission Impossible.
And then he said, the reason I wanted to meet you is that I practice in my dojo in Hong Kong with the rhythm of your music of Mission Impossible.
He had the most unusual instruments. When he found things that we used in Enter the Dragon that hadn't really been used much in orchestration.
So I had to invent sounds based on instruments that they are accessible to the studio musicians that would sound like from the audience.
We wanted it to be modern, but to have a little Chinese, but not have a Chinese score.
And I accomplished that. That was a great satisfaction.
Premiere at Groundlings was exciting and sad at the same moment. Of course, Bruce had passed away by then. before the opening, we had a Chinese dragon race down
Hollywood Boulevard.
Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah.
Remember that?
One dragon from San Francisco and one dragon from LA.
But it was all due to Bruce. I mean, you have to understand, everything emanated from the fact that we caught a star. And I don't mean star, movie star, I mean
A comet.
a comet. Yeah, right. And it was a shame that he wasn't there at the opening to see it.
The regret that I think we have at this moment is that Bob Klaus isn't here with us anymore to be part of this. Without Bob, I don't think Enter the Dragon would have been the film it is, and certainly would have been nothing without Bruce.
Bob had a gentleness and an ability to see what Bruce could do.
Action!